What's up, Horror Fiends? It's your boy. I'm Ricky. I'm here with the Three Corners of Horror. We got two special guests tonight. Of course, one you are very familiar with, but we have somebody brand new to the channel, Gilbert from the Attic Review. How are you doing, bro?
What's going on, guys?
Thanks for being
Very
here,
excited
man.
to be here. This should have happened, like we said, a year ago, but I am very, very happy to be here now.
Excellent. All right. And of course, Angel from Voices from the Mausoleum coming back one more time. How you doing, Angel?
I'm good. Excited to be back for another revisit.
Oh yeah,
Thanks
these
for
are always
having
fun.
Yeah.
And of course, we got the villain, the man, the myth, the legend, JR. What up, son?
Hey, man, revisit this one, and to have a full panel makes the most sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, my brother from another mother, my beard brother. What up, Joe the psychologist? How you doing?
Bless you. What's up? I mean, hey, I'm glad that Gilbert has finally joined us. You know, Angel, it's another anniversary one, so always glad to have you here. And yeah, another anniversary one that, you know, from one of my favorite directors and writers, you know, and obviously, unfortunately, is the one that's always all his movies have been held up to. There's a really good reason for that, though.
It's truly frightening.
This isn't a plan.
It's your home.
Oh man, I got this. Take one for me too, man. Yeah.
All right, let's get this party started. I'm going to start with Gilbert since he is our very fresh guest here on Horror Fiend TV. Wow, The Sixth Sense, 1999. What were you doing, Gilbert, in 1999 when this film first came out? And what was your first initial reactions?
Ooh, man, so this is aging myself completely. I want to say, what was I? Maybe a freshman. I was 13 years old around that time. Take you back, sorry. 15 years old. 15, and I wanted to watch it. I've always been a horror fan, so this was coming out. I was like, who's this creepy kid? Who's my boy Bruce Willis talking to? What's going on with this? But at that age, I did not appreciate it for what it was. Of course, I liked the shock. I was like, he was dead the whole time. Of course, that's it. But I didn't appreciate the brilliance. I didn't even realize that Toni Collette was in it, and she was nominated for an Oscar for this. I didn't realize how powerful this was until later on. But on rewatch, yeah, I was scared. I mean, there was some jarring moments. From the hallway scene, from poor Cole trying to take a pee in the middle of the night. I've been there. I've got a small bladder. I've got to piss at midnight. So walking down the hallway, and I was a small kid. I'm still a small dude. So I am horrified of this hallway. So with Cole, this was like watching a documentary. And see that it passed by. It was almost like an M&M commercial. I was like, oh, they do exist, So it was one of those situations. So watching it completely jaw dropped, but again, I don't have that maturity at that age to appreciate it. But I did love it. I think I watched it again, perhaps in my early 20s, but I was probably drunk off my ass. And remember when he says, "I see dead people," something stupid like that. Didn't appreciate it, but still loved it. But it's aged like a fine wine. Oh my God, 25 years. But my initial reaction, upon first view as a young freshman Gilbert, it was great. Didn't know all about it, but it was wonderful.
Angel, how about you? What was your what were you doing in 1999, and what was your first initial reaction?
I was 10 when I saw this for the first time. My parents rented it, and I was already watching stuff like horror stuff at that time anyway, but we all watched it together. And I mean, it's one of those things, I don't have a ton of memories of seeing horror movies that young. I know I watched a lot of them, but I don't like this one though. This one is just always in the forefront of my mind when I think about memories with horror, because this movie scared the shit out of me when I saw it at 10 years old. I distinctly remember, because my bed looked a lot like that sick little girl's bed. And I distinctly remember being in bed, right after seeing it was, of course, they're like, that's a great idea. Show her this movie and then be like, all right, go to bed. Good night. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep in my room. I kept getting up and trying to go to my parents. My parents were mean. They did not care that they scared me. And it was horrifying. It scared me so bad. And I mean, and pretty much the same thing that you were just saying, actually, is that I didn't appreciate the things, the nuanced things, the storytelling until I was much older. But initially it scared me so bad. And I think, because this is PG-13, is it not?
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, I'm always advocating for PG-13 horror, unless it's done by Blumhouse, and then not so much. But
Mhm.
this was PG-13, and I rewatch this constantly because I'm a big M. Night fan. Like, I really like the stuff that he does, and I like so many of the things he's put out. And so I rewatch this all the time, and it's crazy to me how scary it still is. But thankfully, I'm not as scared to sleep in my own bed now. But yeah, I mean, the first visit, I remember so vividly being so scared to go to bed, and it took me days to get past it, and I could not stop thinking about this movie. It was crazy.
JR, all right, my brother, I know you're a fan of this film, man. I really want to know what you were doing in 1999.
I actually went to watch this in the movie theaters when it came out.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
opening weekend, I was there
What's up?
because
Wow.
I've always been a Bruce Willis fan since Moonlighting back in '85. And this movie came out 2 years after The Fifth Element, which was one of his
I
best
love
movies.
that
So during this time, Bruce Willis was, he was a well-renowned actor. He was one that basically was on the cusp of greatness. And then this movie rolled around, which
Yeah.
this movie is a masterful slow burn.
It is slow.
It's a slow burn, done right.
Yep.
And it's one of the first films that dropped clues throughout the film.
Yes, that's true.
That once it, when it gets to the end where he goes back, you're like, oh shit, I missed this, I missed that. I
And
missed
this and that. Yep.
And once again, M. Night Shyamalan also appeared in the film. He played the doctor. So
In every film, right? All his films?
you got to be in your own film when you do
Yeah,
it.
it's just part of the formula. Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
Steven does it.
Yeah, you have to.
Yes.
But it was a well-done movie because
Yeah.
you didn't know what to expect when you saw this movie. I mean,
No.
and the cast killed it. Every single member in this cast killed it. I get
Yep.
later about the mom, Lynn, one of my favorite scenes in the film. But this movie, that Gil's right, it showed the potential of M. Night Shyamalan. And it put him on a pedestal way before his time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched the movies. I remember it was a full house. Because, 90s was so much horror. Everybody was watching horror in the 90s, no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun watch. I remember watching. I remember everybody's reaction. Everybody gasping. People like oh my god. And then when you get to the end, which we'll talk about later, yeah, it was a fun film, and it made you appreciate filmmaking to its fullest. And I'll get a little deeper later about the things I seen on the rewatch.
Joe the psychologist, talk to me, brother.
Well, I can say that when I saw this movie, I was 25, which is the anniversary of it. We talked about this with the Blair Witch, that internet was in the infancy at that time, especially stuff getting around.
Yeah.
I didn't go opening weekend, but the whole entire week was buzz on, people at work were talking about this movie they saw.
Yeah.
Internet was starting to pick up on things. Entertainment Tonight, the media started talking about it. So I was there that following weekend to a still completely crowded theater where it was the neck breaker, where you're like in the seventh
Oh, yeah, in
row.
the front.
The worst.
Yeah. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, damn it, I told you guys I like to get here early. But
That's
honestly,
before you could pick your own seat,
God bless his own seating.
Yes.
but yeah, it's always one I've remembered, one I revisit. It's one that you still pick up things here and there that you have missed, even though you've seen the movie a whole bunch of times. And I said, I was glad to have seen it when it came out and been part of like the people who first saw it and went to the theaters, because it helped elevate M. Night to get us
Yes.
more movies from him.
Yes.
I mean, if this movie would have flopped, we wouldn't have had some of his movies.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as I said earlier, this is what he's been held up to since. But is it a really bad one to be held up to at the same time? I mean, every gymnast is trying to outdo their last gold medal win.
Sure.
So, even though it's going to be his pedestal, there's a good reason why.
I think you're right about that. If this was your first major breakout film, it's hard to live up to that. But I think, like you mentioned before, he had some kind of, more polarizing films. I think he still has a very good catalog. of filmmaking. So I think he turned out pretty good. In 1999, I don't remember what I was doing. Honestly, I wasn't into these type of films. You know me, I'm a slasher, I'm a gore fiend, I'm, you know, Romero Carpenter. This wasn't really my bag. So I didn't go to the theater to see it. I saw it when it was playing. I don't honestly, I don't remember if it was on TV or I streamed it. I don't remember. But I know I didn't know the twist when I saw it. I don't know how I didn't get spoiled about that. But when I saw it, it completely like blew my mind at the time because this is the first time we had a movie. Because this is like before the others and you know other things like that. And when you see that, it makes you rethink the entire movie you just watched, and then you're like, "What the heck?" You know what I'm saying? So upon rewatching it years later, especially now, I rewatched it for recently for this. I really appreciated the masterclass of filmmaking this movie is. I mean, it's a slow burn. I hate slow burns, but I was glued from beginning to end here because the performances. Oh, come on, man! Like, I'm not a fan of child actors primarily, but
yes, because they can.
Haley Joel Osment killed it. He was so good in this movie. Of course, Bruce
Oscar nominated.
Yeah.
And Toni Collette. I didn't even know that was her, man.
Oh yeah,
Ricky, I'm so glad you said that, dude. I'm with you. On rewatch, I was like, Toni Collette's in this. I was like, who's that hottie as the mom? That's the mom? You know?
I swear to you, I said to myself too. I watched it with my girlfriend. I said, "Oh, she's kind of hot. Who is this?" And when I found out, that's Toni Collette. What the hell? It blew my mind. And I'm like, yeah, she's awesome. Because the one scene that really sold it for me was that final scene in the car with her. Oh,
yes.
God,
oh, dude.
So
oh, man.
Yes.
And then to come to find out, that's the scene that when she read the script that sold her on making this film.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she didn't know it was a horror movie until it was released because what drove her to the project was just the whole the character dynamic and the structure between her son, and of course, what's his name, Malcolm Crowe. Amazing stuff. So yeah, I wish I would have saw it in the theater at the time, but I didn't. But I really appreciate this film for what it is and what it gave us. And of course, let's talk about this twist. This was groundbreaking at the time. It really was. I mean, I'm not saying it's the first movie to do this, but it was the one maybe at a mainstream level that really took audiences, by surprise. Gil, let's start with you. When you first saw this, obviously we didn't know, but on rewatch, did you go back and trying to figure out all the little clues and all the little subtleties that were thrown in there to kind of make you, it made you think, wait a minute, how is he a ghost if he's around so many people? But when you go back, no, they thought about that.
No interactions.
What you got?
Ricky, like you said, brother, like it's a master class in that because, of course, you're going there with your microscope and you're inspecting everything with a fine tooth, and there's no errors. There's not. Every interaction he has when he's talking to Toni Collette, they're not talking. He's never opening a door. When you go to the restaurant, the chair's already pulled out. The waiter's addressing everyone else but him. It's amazing watching it on rewatch. And then, like you said earlier, he was playing with us. He put clues everywhere. Even that initial I see dead people and that zoom in on him, they were worried that was going to give it away. Thank God it didn't. And I watched it recently with someone who's never watched it. And I saw it. I was like, oh, shit, it is kind of obvious. But I looked over, nothing. I was like, okay, thank God. The masking still works, So just brilliant how, they just disguised everything. And like you said, red was everywhere. We have that party where the balloons are all pastel, but it's that red Pennywise thing that, we see. There's the red doorknob, and it's cool too because like the anniversary scene, I didn't notice this. I kind of read, I cheated about it, but the anniversary scene, when they're talking, you see she's wearing red and everything. When the waiter puts down the tab, when he's going to reach for it, she reaches in and gets it. You hear a whoosh, like a ghost-like sound. Rewatch it, you'll hear it. It's insane. I was like, what? And just small stuff like that left and right. Like, again, the doorknob leading to the cellar.
Yeah.
His files should be up top. It makes sense for it to be up top. Why is it down there now? Why was he having trouble? It was amazing on rewatch. And trying to catch him slipping, And he wasn't slipping.
That's the beauty of this movie. Like you mentioned when he says, "I see dead people," and the first thing they cut to is Bruce Willis. You're right. Frank Marshall was worried about that. It was going to give it away, but nobody picked up on that.
And then there's other ones too, where he was like, at the church when he first meets him, he's like, "Am I going to see you again tomorrow?" It was like, that's an indication that this guy's a ghost. And also, like, Bruce is wearing the same thing the whole time, just like variations.
Yeah.
But it was cool. And then, like, again on rewatch, I'm trying not to cry now because Cole's saying his goodbye after he gives him advice to be like, "Hey, talk to your wife in her sleep, and everything's cool now. I'm not going to see you anymore. Can we pretend?" And I'm seeing it because my niece has never seen it, and she's like, "Why is he tripping? He's going to see him tomorrow." I was like, "Oh my God, she doesn't know," and I'm crying because this is their goodbye. And I was like, "How did I not see this?" Just brilliant.
Hey, Joe, how about when you went back and watched this, Joe? Because I know you're like a master detective for these things. Was there anything you caught that was out of place in this movie?
No, that's the whole thing, though. That's
Okay.
that was the great part of it. Yeah, no. There's a scene where Bruce is talking to him, and Cole. They're not looking at each other, but Cole looks scared, and I'm like, huh. He probably was afraid how David just won't leave, and he's still around. But just the interaction, just the way he was looking, and I never caught that, all these years, as many times as I watched it, that for a little brief moment, Cole was even scared of David. He's been scared of all these ghosts that have been basically trying to get him to help them, but he didn't know that, but here's yet another one this one won't go away. It keeps coming back around. And as you guys just said it now, yes, dumb me didn't even really think about the fact that he was always in the same clothes.
Yeah, those are the same outfit, more or less, when he died.
Yeah.
They just kept doing variations of it.
So, it again, because of how good it is, knowing the twist, as Gilbert says, you go back with your detective eyes. You're looking for all those scenes. You're looking for the interactions, the misinteractions, how you thought there was an actual interaction didn't happen, and you're going, wow, kudos to these actors, actresses who did their job, who made us believe conversations were actually taking place that were not taking place at all. So, I mean, and again, as you keep rewatching them, you just notice, as you guys said, so much of the fact that there was all these conversations that happened throughout the movie that really never took place. And they all did amazing to do that.
JR, how was your experience on the rewatch?
It's funny because I totally forgot that when the ring drops, I totally forgot that whole part, so, like I knew what's happening. So I was looking for the little things, but there was also little things that I noticed what they did, like the dinner scene. When she's sitting there, she gets the check, she signs it. She looks directly at him for a split second, happy anniversary, gets up and walks away. I thought that was so perfectly done because even in that one small scene, you're like, all right, so she's pissed off at him. But then when you remember, oh, like, oh, she's dead. But that one time she actually looked at the chair was to say a happy anniversary. The whole time she wouldn't even look at the chair.
Smart.
She was always looking sideways.
Yep.
And then even the scene where, Cole walks into the room and Lynn's sitting there with Bruce Willis' character. And it looks like they're looking at each other. So it looks like their conversation was actually interrupted by Cole walking in. And the fact that they both at the same time look in his direction. So there was like little things here and there. I mean, I was trying to figure out the whole time. I was like, hold on, why the fuck is he can't get into the basement? And when they finally show that she basically put the bookshelf there to prevent, I was like, hey, that makes total sense because I knew Reddy couldn't go in. But yeah, when the whole twist scene, I think, was so perfectly done still, and you still appreciate it on the rewatch because he sold it so well. The fact that he had to take a step back, gather his thoughts, and started looking at everything. And then it transitions to the night that he got killed. And basically the slow death he went through, which, once again, amazingly done. And yeah, I mean, that whole last portion of the movie I think is so great on every emotional level because you're captivated by everything. You're captivated by the reactions. And, Jesus Christ, she lost her spouse to murder. And she's holding
While
on.
she was there, she was standing right there.
And they were celebrating a good night together. And then it's just like this movie had so many emotional levels that you appreciate. And when you look at movies now, you're like, all right, why can't movies have that same level as this movie did? Which is another thing that M. Night Shyamalan did a lot of his movies. There was an emotional attachment to these characters. Mm-hmm. And you were with them on this emotional journey. But yeah, I mean, I was looking for every little thing, but I appreciated every single thing that was done in this film to the T.
All right. And Angel, talk to us. What you thought about this film upon your rewatch? How'd you feel about it?
I mean, aside from, I think that the twist is, I think the approach, like pretty much what everybody said now, is you're going through and you're looking at what you missed or may have not caught or appreciating those things. But I think the other thing, not necessarily related to the twist, that I think I've always been impressed that on every watch it still holds up, is how scary this movie is. Like this take on, like, first of all, children they're vulnerable. Like it's so easy to worry about them as characters, unless they're like the bullies of 80s horror movies, but like the little cute, nice ones like this one. Right. And so like, I'm always worried for him. Obviously we get to the point in the story where it's like, yeah, they just need help. And I like that play on like the things that are scary, right, are really just maybe things we don't understand. Like usually M. Night's movies are very, very layered with things. And so I felt it was this really interesting concept. But up until that point, these things are scary. Like the little boy that blew his head out because he's like, hey, my dad's got some guns. You like these are
all
like
the time.
Yeah, it's realistically scary, like the parents or like the story about the little girl whose mom is poisoning her and making her sick. Like these things are still upsetting. The atmosphere is still super prevalent. It still works. It's still effective. It's the quick scares are still there. I don't call them jump scares at this stage because I've seen them so much, but those quick moments of things that happen. And I will say this, revisiting it as a parent is a very different experience as well, because I also have a son. And so in particular, that scene at the birthday party, like I'm telling you, I'd burn the house down. Like I would have been so upset. Like it's over right there. It hits you on a different level because she's doing the best that she can, and she knows that her son is going through, but she doesn't know what it is. She doesn't know how to handle it. She's at her wit's end of it, but she's still trying to be a good mom. And I think that there's, I've been a single mom. Like I think that that's a super relatable experience, and it's things that are more relatable now than obviously when I was 10 years old, right? But these scenes with him where there's no one there to keep him safe, that these moments when these things happen, she gets there too late, or it's way too, like when she leaves, the one that always gets me, I have goosebumps talking about, the one where she leaves the room and then she comes back and all the fucking cabinets are open.
Awesome.
Like those moments to me have not lost any of their magic. Like they've held up so well. And the thing is, the truth is that these scares are not over the top. They're not overly done. They're not crazy edited. They're not like, it's very simple things that the buildup and the background and the story are what make them so scary. And I've always impressed with any horror film that can stay like that especially after being out for this long. But this one just holds up really well. The twist still works and the scares are still super effective.
Upon rewatch, once again, it's just the acting is what really drew me into this movie. And one thing we haven't mentioned yet too, if you mentioned the scene with the sick daughter, Munchausen syndrome, I'm assuming, right? Is that correct?
More or less.
Yeah.
The scene when Malcolm and Cole go into the room, you see when the door opens, you see the shadow. Malcolm is standing behind Cole, but you only see Cole's shadow.
Oh, I've never paid that attention.
I love that part. Thank you for pointing that out. Yep. Yeah.
And if you also go back, whenever there's a scene with reflections, you never see Malcolm's face.
I've never paid attention to that. Huh.
There's one scene with the doorknob. When they go grab the doorknob, you see Cole, you see part of Malcolm's body, but you never see his face. It's always out of the frame. Little subtle touches like that. Once again, they're right there in your face, but you don't catch it because you're not
looking
for it. You're
Yeah.
not looking for it.
I watch every movie if I can with the captions on. It's a weird thing, but I mean, sometimes it helps you to miss a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this movie in a while, so at this particular point, when they point out that the poor young girl is being poisoned because the mother has that Munchausen by proxy, which just happened with Gypsy Rose. That was the case recently.
Gross.
Yeah.
And even like Eminem, that happened with his mom. Same shit. So this stuff happens. Now, the sad part is, I'm not sure if anybody captured that. My heart is racing because it broke my heart and made my blood boil, is that they're talking about why the baby was bedridden for years. Like, my dad was with cancer. This shouldn't be happening. Then somebody else is like, oh, yeah. And now the young daughter's starting to feel sick, too.
Yeah,
I was like, that made me mad.
Yep.
They prevented that from happening to her, but I was like, that piece of crap mother was now poisoning the young one, and they caught her. Thank God. Oh, my God. I lost it.
The moment when the dad says, it was you.
Oh, and she was wearing red. The lady was wearing
all
red.
red. Everybody's in black. She's like treating it like a social event, like, oh, happy to be the hostess.
Yeah, it was like, I'm shaking. Yeah, but I was like, the younger daughter's getting sick. I was like, oh my God, did people watch that line? That made my blood boil. Oh my God.
I loved her reaction too when she was called out. She wasn't trying to defend herself. She was just speechless. Like, oh,
like,
because she thought she'd gotten away with it.
Yeah, everyone's staring at her. She had nothing to say, and that is better than any piece of dialogue they could have wrote for that character.
Yeah,
powerful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go into the closer thoughts now. Any final suggestions, moments, scenes, anything you want to talk about, and give us your score for this film. Gil, if you're not familiar, 1 through 5, 5 being the highest, 1 is absolute trash. I thought we were going to see that in one here, but let's start with you. Let's start with you, brother. What you got?
I got a couple of notes, but
yes,
yeah, I mean, the rating, absolutely. This is like if not like a 4.9, this is a 5. This is an incredible 5. Like, just, again, masterclass in storytelling. His niche is horror, but this is a storyteller, and he gave us a brilliant one here. Something funny, in Spain, you know, that beginning with Vincent Gray, and he's saying, you failed me, powerful moment. But there's a translation problem in Spain, and instead of saying you failed me, they were saying you effed me. You effed me. So they're cracking up over that.
Oh no!
I read
That's an unfortunate one.
By the way, before you mentioned captions, right?
Yes, sir.
I always poke fun at GR because GR watches stuff with captions, and I was like,
I do
why?
too.
If I was in the theater, I would do it.
Once because I did it with my girlfriend because she wants them on. Now I cannot watch anything at home without captions.
I'm telling you, it's
because you're right. You catch everything.
so
So
much
thank
stuff.
you, GR. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry.
what's
Go
up.
for it.
Caption crew. That's what's up. I'm trying to think if I had anything else here. Because again, that whole thing about the funeral got me. This was inspired by an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yes,
Oh,
it
I didn't
was.
know that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
read about
crazy. I
that.
guess there was an episode about that. So I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. And Jesus, it was. I can't believe that the accolades of this 6 Academy Awards. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in what age? The movie came out on M. Night's birthday, and he was under 30. He was like 29 to be nominated for Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay. Just, man, I just thank you guys for bringing this movie up because it made me rewatch it, and now I'm in love with it again. Like, this has shifted a lot of my rankings.
Yeah.
for horror.
It was my
Yeah,
idea, so I appreciate it.
and I'm trying to think. I think that's also just most rented movie of all time. Like 80 million copies, like in 2000.
Not surprised.
Insane. And that's what you were talking about, the buzz around the theater. People were talking about it. Surprisingly, unlike these scumbags nowadays, no spoilers. So people went in not knowing.
Crazy.
That's why people kept going too, because they love the surprise. So when people are like, oh, I saw it coming. No, you didn't. Don't try to be cool.
Liar.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Nobody did.
Nobody
No,
saw
you
it.
didn't.
No.
Nobody saw it. I had a buddy I worked with. We were talking about Barbarian, and he was like, "That was so predictable." I was like, "No, you did not just say that. Get out of my face. You don't know what that word means. That's like saying The Sixth Sense is predictable. No, it's not, you hipster. Get out of here. It's not."
JR, rate the film, my brother. Actually, between you and Joe, whose idea was this, honestly?
Joe.
Joe, all right. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
I'm the anniversary man. You know, like
You're also the M Night guy too, so I appreciate
I'm the M Night guy.
All right, JR. Yeah, give us your score. Any final thoughts you got, bro?
For me, this is a 5. I mean, this movie did so much for horror, and the fact that slow burn. I'm gonna keep saying that because I love slow burns. But it was a perfectly done slow burn. And Rick, I'm gonna give you a scene and tell me as a filmmaker you not appreciate the scene when Lynn and Cole are sitting down talking about the butterfly pit. The fact that it's a wide shot that then goes down from one character
at the table. You mean, right?
Oh.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Not one edit in that whole scene.
No cuts.
That was one straight shot going back and forth. And as a filmmaker, I appreciate that so much because you don't get that in a lot of the films either. The fact that he showed both of them together. All right, let me focus on the mom. Let me focus on Cole. And then let me end with the mom basically standing her ground. Because the fact is, this is the scene where she's saying that she doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
She's trying her best. The fact that our family is falling apart and I don't know what to do. And
yeah, without cutting away, you don't break away the immersion between the two characters.
Because you got the tension going on. You have the child that's innocent, that's afraid to communicate with his mom. You got the mother who, she said she works 2 jobs. She's trying everything she could do to maintain the household. And I think this is one of the things that's kind of gets lost in this film is the fact that you have a single mother raising a child. And she doesn't know what to do. She has no help from nobody. And the fact that they don't mention what happened to dad. And I love that they didn't mention that because it wasn't needed. It gave them more this whole isolation of no matter where we go, we're still treated like outcasts. Because even when she was at that party, she felt like an outcast.
She was, yeah.
And I think that's such a powerful message in the fact that it's on layers upon layers of different stories being told at the same time. And not one story takes away from the other. It's just one thing that it was a perfect transition from the beginning to the end. And even like when Angel mentioned about the ghost, you wanted to know those stories. You wanted to know exactly what happened. And the fact that they chose the certain ones to, the girl being basically poisoned as the one, all right, we're going to focus on this one as the one that's going to change the direction of the movie. And I love that. I mean, this film is amazing. As a filmmaker, I appreciate it. On the story level, the cinematography level, everything. And it's the one thing that made me sad watching this movie, honestly, is what's happening to Bruce Willis now. It just hurts me
dude,
so much.
Same thing. On the rewatch, I couldn't stop thinking about that, bro.
I'm seeing him. I'm like, this guy is such an amazing actor, and he's a good person. And man, he does not deserve the shit he's getting now.
No. All right, Angel. Let's hear it, Angel. Score it. Give us your final thoughts.
Yeah, it's a 5 out of 5 for me too. I think. I think the only thing that we really didn't talk about that I'll bring up is the tapes when Malcolm listens to the tape and he hears something else for the first time.
Oh, good scene. Yeah.
Because and that's the thing. Like, so all of these reveals, all of these moments, like they always leave me feeling like, oh shit, like every time I watch them. And so it's one of those moments where you're like, because he didn't believe in it. He didn't believe what he was being told. He didn't buy into that. He thought, oh, here, like you just need help and you just need, all these other, like, let's go all these other routes instead of acknowledging that this could be reality. And so that moment when it's too late and he's listening to it and it's just like, you hear the other voice for the first time. And it's like, we know it's real as an audience, but getting to experience his realization that his patients are telling the truth. They're not lying to him. They're not just crazy people as he treats it, kind of, right? There's way more going on. And I love that moment because it does this really great thing where it goes back and forth between like the tape and his facial expression. So we get this like full rounded, like this is the moment, like this is the thing giving us anxiety and this is the reaction to it. And that moment is just so great to me because it's like, this was his thing of like, this isn't real. And now there's no denying it. Because he knew there was no one else in the room. He had just walked out.
Yeah.
He knew that. So he was not in that moment able to back off or to back up and be like, well, it could be blah, blah, blah. Right. No, like there's nothing you can say. It's real. Like, and I think that there's just all of those moments, that these little moments, like the cabinet scene, the different ghosts that we see, the scene in the car where they're talking and he tells her the truth, the scene in the hospital when he's like, you know, the notorious scene, the birthday party, the tape, like there's so many just punch after punch in this movie. And it's insane because there are some really great horror films that I have love for that do not hold up this well. And I just think this is something that people will be able to continue to enjoy as a first watch. I mean, for the upcoming horror fans that haven't seen it, and even with the twist being ruined, I don't think it's going to change anything. I think it's still going to be an incredible experience. It holds up really well.
Yeah. I think even this is a film that even non-horror fans could appreciate.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's how well made this movie is. Joe the Psychologist. All right, my brother. This is your film, bro. What's up?
Well, I am so glad you guys all loved it. You know, there was a reason I picked it. You know, once, I mean, I looked through the whole year to see all these anniversaries coming up. And, you know, the three of us had sat down and came up with a list. And this wasn't on there when we first came up with the list. Like, I started going again, checking more, and I'm like, holy shit. And I messaged them and said, yeah, I'm adding the Sixth Sense. I didn't even like get a conference with them. There was no vote in this. I said, I'm putting the Sixth Sense. We're putting this on here because we're also used to, we talk a lot about slashers, you know, violent movies, things like that. Yes, this movie has it, but not on the scale of what we normally talk about. It's a slow burn. It's down JRs, you know. Misha Barton, by the way, is the young girl.
Kira, right?
Yeah, that's Misha Barton. I'm going to preface it. If I'm wrong, go ahead and correct me. But for the Academy submission was the scene where Cole and Lynn were in the car and he told her about seeing the dead people, and to convince her was that he's talked to, you know, basically passing the message along, the grandmother's message along to her. If you don't cry in that scene,
it's such an emotional horror movie. Yeah.
You don't have a heart if you're not sitting there, you know, because especially when she says all those things and, you know, she's like, how do you know this? And you see, and Toni Collette, I mean, that woman could fucking act the dictionary and it'll get an Academy Award.
Yeah, she's so great. So talented.
And it's funny because I had before, one of the names I knew besides Bruce Willis was her name because she's from Australia or New Zealand, either Australia or New Zealand, but she had done this movie called Muriel's Wedding. Mm-hmm. If you like romantic comedies, check it out. But I want to say it's one of her first ones. And to see, because in that, for her role that she played, she was heavier. And then in this role, she was thinner. Donnie Wahlberg, this was his first like studio role. He purposely, and I mean, hello, I'm New Kids. I grew up like listening to him, and this guy is muscles just like his brother Mark. And he purposely lost his definition and all this weight, but unrecognizable in such a small little role, delivered like everybody. But he had such a small little role in this movie.
But it was an important role. It was a catalyst.
It was. Well, no, but meaning, but like size-wise.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Yeah,
it's just how good even the person who has the smallest one did. I mean, this is obviously a 5.
I'm gonna keep mine short because you guys already talked about everything I really had strong feelings for. I don't want to regurgitate everything, but it's a 5 for me. I can't see anyone else giving it anything other than a 5. It's a masterpiece. Sorry, Angel had to leave in case everyone's wondering. She on a tight schedule. She had another project to attend to. So thank you, Angel. When you watch this back, we appreciate you
Angel.
Coming on board. But right now, what we're going to talk about is our man Gil here, the man of the hour. We're a horror channel. We're Horror Fiend TV. We want to know.
Love the channel.
Oh, appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. But what we want to know and the viewers want to know, this is, you know, every new guest we go through this. So what is your top 10 favorite horror movie?
Ooh, okay. I mean,
All right, let's go.
the numbers aren't specific, but I'm going to start towards, I guess, at number 10. And this isn't really indicative of how much I think this one's better than the rest. I can't say that, but except for the top one. But number 10, I'm going to say, Trick or Treat. It's I'm a sucker for anthologies. And
you made these two guys happy right now, man.
I love anthologies, and then it's the perfect Halloween movie. Halloween is the greatest slasher ever. Trick or Treat's the best Halloween movie there is, and it's just one of the most beautifully orchestrated anthologies I've ever seen. No mistakes in there. That's one of those rewatches. So much fun. So I got to say Trick or Treat down there, right there. And then I'm gonna say From Dusk Till Dawn. It's incredible. You don't know anything about that movie. An hour in, boom, you get vampires. And it's like, holy shit. I had the pleasure of seeing that at a drive-in theater. It was awesome. It was part of a double feature, Rumble in the Bronx, and then when it's nice and dark, boom, From Dusk Till Dawn, baby. So it's always one of my favorites.
That's a good combination, actually.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I got to get that movie again.
Talk about a weird juxtaposition.
I don't know why they paired the two, but another pairing that I saw at one point was a Barry Brady sequel and the newer, I think it's like Escape from L.A. I don't know why the pairing, but it's just the way they did it. This movie is one of my favorites. It's Incident in a Ghostland.
Oh my God.
Man.
Oh my God.
Yes.
My favorites that nobody talks about enough. It was just so shocking, so incredible. I don't know why people aren't talking about this movie enough still. I'm still not brave enough to do a review because I don't know how to tiptoe around it. Talk about messing with your head. It's just fantastic.
I'll tell you what, when you're going to do a review for it, let me know. I'll do it with you.
It's funny because, it's funny because you just said that, and there's a possibility that this might be on my next season.
Oh, then yes.
Of the movies that fucked me up, to be honest with you, because Junior messed me up to make me watch this one.
That'll be the third time that film's covered on our channel.
Hey, as he just
not in a bad way, not in a bad way.
But like
that's how good the film is.
I'll have to get with you on that because Rick's my editor, but we might have to get a little snippet of your feelings on that to pop in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
You could obviously you could jump in with JR. I'll jump in with you, but. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that movie's fantastic. My daughter, she's a huge horror movie fan with me, but that one I'm still like, I don't know yet. I might have to wait because that one hurts my feelings. Train to Busan, love it.
Damn,
one of the best zombies, not just foreign, just best zombie movies ever made. I cried with Blue Jacket guy was my dude. I was crying my ass off, and it just pulled at your heartstrings when it shouldn't have, but it did. And that little roach surviving till the end that was a great movie. Perfect zombie.
Great ending.
And fantastic ending. The sequel
very emotional.
The sequel's terrible.
But you're right. Yeah, I was crying hearing that little girl singing. I was like, she was singing for her dad. I mean, great movie. Fantastic. I've got to say Sinister coming up next. I adore that movie. That's probably one of the scariest movies I think I've ever seen. Unfortunately, it was wasted on a date with this girl that I didn't know we were dating. She put us in a relationship, but I wanted to go see this movie so bad, and I'm watching it with this wet towel here. I'm like, oh my God, this movie's so good, but you're draining my life force. But it's a fantastic movie. That's how good the movie was. It still scared me, even with that negative energy there. So great movie. After that, this is a real personal favorite. Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight. That's a great one to rewatch over and over. Billy Zane is insane.
I love Billy Zane, man. I'm a big Billy Zane.
What do you guys think about that movie? It's fantastic.
Oh, it's a fun movie.
It's a fun movie.
It's underrated. I think that film's
very underrated.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because it's Tales from the Crypt, people expected something different, but because it was kind of, it didn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
I think that's what I loved about it. It just didn't care. It just did whatever it wanted to.
Yeah, man. It was just so much fun. I mean, like the soundtrack, you have like Filter, Pantera, and again, watch the movie with the captions on. There's some dialogue in there. I don't want to say it on here because it'll make me blush, but watch it. And you're like, oh my God, these are some nasty people. But fantastic movie, always up there. The Lost Boys.
Yes.
None of us have had them, by the way. Good shout out on that because none of us three have had the Lost Boys on our list.
Oh man, it's just I'll fight with people on this because people will say Near Dark. Fuck no. I like Near Dark. Okay, I like Near Dark, but to say that it's better than The Lost Boys, I cannot concede to that. I won't. The Frog Brothers, Grandpa, I still believe. What's not.
I was just thinking that in my head right now.
And I got a cool story. I work at a restaurant, a breakfast place around the Biltmore area, and I was talking to one of my guests about the movie. She was an extra. She was the lady in the zebra stripe on somebody's shoulders rocking out that concert. I have her autograph somewhere.
Please tell me. Yeah, I would have had a lot of questions.
Dude, the guy was like, "Oh yeah, those guys were just running through town, and her friends, weren't they?" And she was just smiling her ass off. Like, he was like, "They had a great time. They were great. We had a good time." Like, but that movie is just unreal. Like, that's the first movie I showed my daughter, and that ensured her love of horror. Where can you go wrong with The Lost Boys? I mean, how do you guys feel about that? It's amazing.
I know these two guys are really.
It's another rewatch one. I mean, like
I get pissed off every time I say, "Oh, they're gonna don't remake it, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it."
The Frog Brothers was basically my childhood, man. Like that's me. They come to the comic book store. Come on, man.
But yeah. Now, speaking of remakes, but this was a good one. 2017's It. I consider that almost a perfect horror movie.
Listen, we were just talking about The Sixth Sense. That was the highest grossing horror film at one point. Until
you
2017.
My man does his homework. Yeah.
We don't play.
Well played, sir.
We're horror fiends.
Yeah, man, he's not playing. But yeah, so I mean, I've always wanted to I'm going to do a video soon after I got the shit kicked out of me for saying that I enjoy the remake of Friday the 13th better than the original. But It versus It, I mean, I'm literally, I have that on the background right now, the original. But 2017 was just, speaking of child actors, holy shit, what a cast.
Great
music was
remake.
brilliant. Skarsgård was brilliant. It was scary. It had an R rating. Like, it's
hard R, yeah.
It was just amazing.
Let me ask you a quick question, though.
Yeah, man.
No, you have It 2017 being high. Were you disappointed with the sequel?
1,000%. I hated it. I loathed it.
Too long.
What made me sad was it opened up so strong. I mean, I hated seeing the themes of homophobic and violence towards that. That wasn't cool. That was more shocking than almost like the.
It was in the book, though. It was in the book, though.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. I mean,
it was, and the TV movie shied away from that. So.
Yeah, which is I understand. I understand.
Give them props for putting the little subplots from the book into the movie.
But that's what I'm saying. That was my favorite part. Was Adrian under the bridge? I was like, they started with my favorite part. This movie's gonna be great, and then it went to crap. I was so sad. Very. That
was a long. I hate long movies, and that movie
I just hate
long.
I just hate
way long. Oh.
They bullied him to turn little. Like basically, he bullied them, so they bullied him down.
Was that in the book?
Yeah, you suck. You suck. You suck. I was like,
no. The book was the way that the TV miniseries ABC.
Well, the thing I hate about it is that Billy was the main character, and then you have such a great actor playing Billy, and he felt wasted.
Yeah,
he felt wasted. That's my biggest knock in that movie.
Yeah, and what an incredible cast you got. Daddy James McAvoy. That's one of my favorite actors. I can't wait for him in the remake of Speak No Evil, even though the original is better. But you got James McAvoy.
I didn't know that was a remake. I didn't see the original. It's good.
Oh
I messaged you. It's on Shudder. It's on Shudder. I'm not doing the theater release. I'm gonna watch the Shudder release first.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
and then I will watch the other one when it releases. But from what I've been told, that the Shudder one is much better.
But I heard they're both good though.
Man, it's amazing. Very good. And I hate it because like the trailer for the McAvoy one just gives away so much. I'm like,
let me say,
people watch the movie.
One thing, Gilbert, about me, I don't watch trailers.
Good man.
I don't watch them at all. But unfortunately, when I go to the theater, if I get there too early, because I like to time myself to miss the trailers. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think it was Long Legs. They played that trailer, and I was forced to watch it.
Oh, it sucks, man. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
Good movie, though, man. But I'll shy away from McAvoy here. And, okay, these are kind of gimmies, but the original Halloween. That's just, damn.
There you go, JR. That's you.
The soundtrack, Daddy Carpenter doing his thing. person, point of view at the beginning, and then just killing it everywhere. It's just a good movie. I mean, yeah, it's a perfect slasher. I don't know what else to say about it. It's perfect. Those are my other 9. My top one. Speaking of directors, I'm not sure if he took a beating in the early 90s, but 96, Scream. It's my favorite of all time.
Wes Craven. Oh yeah.
Wes Craven, Scream, and I will fight for days, months on how this is the best horror movie ever made. It's incredible. It was meta. It was self-aware. It knew the audience. It gave it credit. The greatest opening ever in horror.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. The greatest horror intro.
They killed Drew.
What's that?
They fucking killed Drew in the beginning.
That's why it's the greatest. No,
Stars and Drew Barrymore's that you're like, oh yay, it's Drew.
Imagine going in there not knowing anything about the film, and Drew Barrymore is front and center.
I'm saying.
I saw this I saw Scream when it came out. Like I saw it opening weekend.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like I went and saw it, and I had no idea that Drew was going to be in it. I'm like, all right, Drew's the final girl.
Psych.
Oh no, her innards are out. She ain't gonna survive the beginning. Like, yeah, no.
I still think she's alive. She's coming back for 7.
Scream revitalized the horror genre. Is one of the feelings that I have about it.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
1,000%. 1,000%. I mean, people wanted to say it was just they revitalized a slasher. No, it was horror in general. And that's why I say too, Demon Knight, I think if it got released after Scream, would have blown up a little bit more because people were just kind of sick of these Prom Night 3, which I still love, stuff like that, or Night of the Demons 3, stuff like that. And then Scream. I have them up there, man.
I love campy horror movies, man.
Yeah, but it was almost like a joke though. But Scream's okay, this is a satire. It is a joke.
It's a satire.
But you're in on it. This is still scary. We got the Fonz here. Hey, we're gonna do all this. Oh my God,
they had Henry Winkler. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Do you know why he died? I'm gonna make a review about this, an episode about this. Do you know why he died in the movie?
Please, let us know.
So check this out. One of the Weinstein, not the bad one, the other Weinstein, was reading it. He was like, "Hey guys, there's about 30 pages where no one dies. Fix that." So
all right, let's call Fonz.
Oh no,
okay, hey, I'm dead. So he kills them off. But that was perfect because then that tied in why they had to leave the party and got everybody else isolated. So because of that, we got that. So 30 pages of no death. Weinstein was like, off somebody, so it's got to be the Fonz.
Credit for that.
Before we go, plug your channel. It will also be in the description below with all your. Send us your socials, and we'll put them in the description, brother. So,
Sure. Yeah, I do the Attic Review on YouTube. Yeah, just the Attic Review. My sisters helped me come up with that a long time ago. When I was actually writing initially, I used to just write out my reviews before I discovered YouTube and the power of it. So I was a writer at first and just took my script and started doing this instead. Yeah. So I've been doing this since my first video was 2017. Drunk, wanted to ramble, and didn't really do it after that. And then 2020 is really I started doing it. But yeah, so that's my YouTube is the Attic Review. Instagram, that's how I met you guys. That's what I'm on there as well. TikTok, same thing. Gilly from the Attic Review. That's my handle for TikTok. But that's it there. And I talk about my love of movies. Sometimes I talk about reviews. Sometimes my OCD takes over and I'm talking about why Scream 2 has the most original ending because the victim didn't get a call from the killer. I'll go off on rants like that, shit like that,
Listen, man, your enthusiasm is intoxicating, man.
Oh,
I love it. I love it, man.
I whenever I subscribed first before I followed you on Instagram because I found you and I'm like, your energy, I was trying to tone down my energy because I knew that I had somebody just as energetic on the show tonight. So I was like, all right, I don't want to do a whole battle with him. I want that energy tonight. So yeah, I love watching your channel, and then I started following you. But yeah, I love what you cover because it's not totally horror. You do other 90s stuff.
Yeah.
So there is it's a variety on the channel, and it's one of the reasons why it is one of the channels that I follow and watch.
Cool.
Dang, thanks a lot. I appreciate that, man. You're making me blush. I really appreciate that. And again, you guys as well. I still feel like such a turd for putting this off for a year because, I've always enjoyed. Again, I'll watch your channel, watch the panels. I'm like, this is my group, to have good conversations with, like we just had. And please, I can't wait for the next one.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us for another special giant-sized episode of Three Corners of Horror from Horror Fiend TV. I'm Ricky Van, JR, Joe the Psychologist, and our buddy now, Gil from the Attic Review. Subscribe to him, follow him on his social medias. The description will have all his information. You will be seeing him back soon. I guarantee that. So with that being said, stay good, stay healthy, dream big, stay sane, but most of all, stay scared.